very warm welcome to this MTSS Vlogcast series. I'm Lisa Collins, one of the co-founders of MTSS, and I'm delighted to be joined by Deep Kambe, who is the co-founder of Regenerating Business. During this episode, we are going to be taking a deep dive into the EU CSRD. So, the European Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Tell us more, Deep.
Yes. It's quite a title, isn't it? And quite a mouthful. And this is just the beginning in the world of EU ESG regulation. Again, I think we've mentioned it before, it's this part of this alphabet soup. The EU regulations very much at the forefront, evolved, detailed, quite demanding, and it is forcing businesses to really transform and become more transparent and really evolve more into sustainable business practices. It's not perfect by all means. It's brand new, so everybody is really in that learning phase of how do we get there, what actually is it, and what's the objective of it. I think really is the first thing to address. And first of all, it's about being able to measure the performance of ESG impacts across businesses, being able to benchmark, get comparable data, and also enable finance, like sustainable finance, to be directed in the right way, so the right things can be invested in to move the marketplace to more sustainable business practices, and getting that reliability and being able to assess businesses in a much more kind of standardized way.
So what are the key requirements for this one to be compliant?
Yeah, so there is a lot going on when it comes to the EU CSRD. So just to mention before I go on to that, it's part of complying with the wider EU Green Target Roadmap. Green Deal, the Green Deal targets, sorry. So that's kind of what it's there for, and it's part of the financial pillar of the overarching 4 pillars that are incorporated in this Green Deal. There are 4 elements to complying with the CSRD, and first one is double materiality. Another jargony word, but just to break that down, what does it really mean? What it is, it's about assessing the full value chain of a business, so not just the operations, understanding where there's significant environmental and social and governance impacts sit within that. And it's commonly termed as material. These are the material, is what's material to the business. So, what are the impacts that this business is having on the external world, on the planet, on people, outside and inside of the business? But it's also assessing how the external environment and how it's changing over time. We're seeing more and more effects in the weather. For example, how is that affecting the business? So it's commonly termed as the inside out assessment and then the outside in. So that's why it's called a double. So we're looking at it through 2 lenses, through the impact of the business, through the E, the S and the G lens, and then the external impact on the business. How are we looking at it in both ways? So that's, quite a rigorous assessment that needs to be done. It needs to have a particular methodology for this, and it needs to be reported on in quite a rigorous way, because the idea of it is that this whole CSRD is required to be audited. Initially, year 1, 2, 3, it's going to be limited assurance, but they're going to be aspiring to get to more kind of significant assurance, but they're still trying to work that out. So again, at the very beginning stages of this. And part of that is once that's been understood, like all the material aspects of a social business, then it needs to be aligned to the ESRS standards. It's a set of 11 standards.
Wow.
So the first standard is cross-cutting, quite general. It's really about, requiring a business to document methodologies, etc. And then it's aligning those standards to what's material in the business. And that'll kind of tell you what data that you have to disclose in your reporting, and then on progressive performance year on year. So that's, quite a lot just to get your head around in year one, and that has to be done on an annual basis. And then the third element of it is being able to tag your reporting. So it's something called EU taxonomy. So the taxonomy is kind of labeling in your reporting where finance is directed to environmental, social, governance, how the finance is being allocated to be able to deliver on targets and objectives that a business is required. So, there's a lot going on, and no one's going to get it perfect in year one. Everybody who is required to have these regulations in place for financial year 2024, they won't get it perfect, and the auditors are also learning how to audit. So it's going to be a learning process for everybody as they go through this.
It sounds complex. You talked about 2024 then. Who has to comply?
Yeah.
And is that the drop dead date?
So it has come into law. So it is now required, but there's only specific companies that have to comply for financial year 2024, and they have to report on this in 2025. So at the end of this year, they will report on the performance of 2024. So I always forget the thing. So it's the requirement for companies for 2024 is a company with minimum 50 million revenue. They have to have a minimum total assets of 25 million or above, and employ 500 employees or more. So that's going to be for financial year 2024. But then, companies, more and more companies will have to comply as years go on. So when we talk about 2025 and 2026, more companies, smaller companies who are listed will have to comply to this as well. But even when you've got large companies complying, it's still going to hit your value chain because data is going to be required. And when we think about the ESRS standards, there are over 1,000 data points to look at. You don't have to report on everything, you only report on what is material to your business, but there is a lot of data points to try and work out.
So those larger companies are probably going to be reliant on the smaller companies that don't yet have to comply anyway.
Absolutely.
Interesting times ahead, I would say. What do you think the biggest challenges are going to be with this new regulation?
Lots. I think there's going to be lots of challenges. First, education. So, there are less resources in smaller businesses. Not all businesses have started on their ESG and sustainability journey. So it's really important, to be in a place where they're going to still be attractive to, gaining those larger clients who have to comply, to get started on their journey now, to really understand what is it that they need to be ready for companies to be, still, to help them grow their business. Secondly, data. As I mentioned, there's over 1,000 data points across all of these standards. Again, not every company is going to have to report on all of these 1,000 plus standards, but it's still significantly more than any business is going to be used to. And they may not necessarily have that data available in their business because they've never had to look at that particular data before. So it's about going on that journey to build that, and that's going to require transformational projects, especially in the digital world, in the kind of data infrastructure that businesses have. That's going to require a lot of work, and a lot of businesses are underestimating the amount of time it takes to prepare to be ready for CSRD reporting. And I would give it, 9 months, a year or more to take to get ready for these. A double materiality could take anything between 4 to 6 months, and that's one element of the overarching reporting requirements.
And do you think those larger organisations are ready for the end of 2024?
We'll have to wait and see. And these are European companies, so not necessarily global companies. But eventually, as years come, like 2028, 29, companies who have got subsidies of specific sizes in the EU will have to comply as well. So again, it's about getting ready for it and, being prepared, because it's going to take time to build all of those aspects within your business to be ready. And more and more countries are going to be building on these regulations, so they're going to have their own requirements. So the UK they are discussing the adopting of the double materiality requirement. It's not mandatory in law yet, but if businesses can start doing this on a voluntary level, they can get themselves engaged, educated, and know, okay, this is what we have to do in order to be prepared for the future.
So something everybody needs to take seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of litigation coming in as well, and so you don't want to be caught.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Deep. Look forward to hearing more on that topic from you in the months ahead. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this Vlogcast series. Join us for the next episode, where we will be taking a look at how your supply chains really are that important to achieving those sustainability goals and targets. We look forward to seeing you then.